In 2026, it will be illegal to cheat on your wife or husband. This is a rumor that is definitely not true. That's sparked a lot of conversation that I think is really interesting online about who would be the most affected if this was actually a real law or policy being passed from state to state. Let's check it out.
If they actually made cheating on your spouse like illegal to the point where you got to serve time or you the one that got to pay the alimony, the marriage rates are going to tank because women are no longer going to be pushing for it. Women love to say that men are the ones that cheat all the time, but there's a reason why so many men are happy about this. And obviously, like it's not a thing. Like it's not actually happening. This is just a rumor. But if men was really like the scumbags that you guys say we are, why is it the men that are happy about this making posts? Because as it stands right now, if a man and woman are married, I actually just spoke to somebody yesterday. He was married to his wife for almost 20 years. She cheated on this man and he had to give her $300,000. And he's still paying alimony to this day. And he's still fighting to see his kids. And
Damn.
they've been divorced like 5 years. I will always promote marriage for the simple fact that it does offer that security in the event somebody does somebody wrong, if you're a female, as well as you have those vows, right? But when it comes to like pen and paper, it's a L for men. Definitely, over here, it's a L. Shorty cheat on you, take all your crap. Men always get a prenup. I don't care if you broke right now, get you a prenup and make sure.
Shout out to Tony Laws. I did not know he was going to go in this direction. FathersHaveRights.com. You guys know where to go.
I hope they do make it illegal to cheat on your spouse, male or female.
All right. So some interesting things were said there, but I do think he has some good points. One of those being that a lot of women would not support this. Haven't you guys noticed? So when it comes to things like, these aren't things that I'm personally passionate about or spend time thinking about, but I see people talk about people trying to ban adult content, right? That comes up. And you see women are the ones, surprisingly, who support that more than anything. I think if people took a vote, you would have more men, surprisingly, support a lot of these laws and women would push back. I think women at this point cheat more than men. There's a stat I remember hearing by Joe Brown. I haven't checked it, but he was talking about how there are more virgin boys under 25 than they are virgin girls. But if you really think about that, that's not too hard to rationalize and try to see why that is. The thing he said there about cheating clauses, there's a whole section in the guide at fathershaverights.com that shows you how to get a solid and legally binding prenuptial agreement. And it goes into cheating clauses. It's very important that you hear how cheating clauses work from an attorney because you may not actually want to do that. Of course, we're going to check out some of these comments before checking out what other people had to say. What would you guys think if it came down to a law about cheating? Do you think that an equal amount of women, especially from what we see today, would go to prison or jail at the same rate as men? If jail time, of course, hypothetically speaking, were the consequences, a lot of these chicks, I personally believe, would be locked up. Top comment here says, both genders are happy about this. Both genders have their cheaters. No side is 100% good. I don't think any side is 100% good. Somebody else, she says, I'm snitching on everybody. I don't give an F. Here's somebody else that says, marriage is more beneficial to women. Somebody else here added, it used to be illegal back in the day, like death penalty. This person says, women are making posts too. Somebody else here added, I've seen a lot more women happy about this than men. Not saying one gender cheats more. A lot of people cheat, unfortunately. But me personally, all the videos I've seen, except yours, it was women happy about this, not men. I think that could also probably point to her algorithm, most likely. Somebody else here says, I've seen a lot of women happy about this too. Adultery is already a crime. Somebody else who says, this is why I agree with at fault states. You step out of the marriage, there needs to be consequences. Here's somebody else who says, prenup all the way, no matter what. Very true, very true, very true. Go get a prenup. Make sure you do it the right way. So I'll tell you guys a little bit of what James Sexton shared in one of the sections. He's one of the attorneys. If you guys don't know who James Sexton is, I'm sure you've seen him on other podcasts. This is him. Um, and in the section that covered cheating clauses, he's been a divorce attorney long enough to have been practicing at the time when there was no fault divorce. And so when it came to cheating, you had to actually prove that somebody was at fault. And he spoke about how difficult that is to prove. And you had to prove, like, what is cheating, right? And that produces difficulty within a prenuptial agreement. Like, how do you define cheating? I've seen a lot of women have given this tip to other women who they tell, hey, make sure you get a cheating clause. They like to leave that cheating clause section within the prenup as broad as possible. I've seen countless people give this type of advice. We saw it in the Jenny Mai and Jeezy situation, where they said they had a cheating clause in their prenup. The problem with that is, how do you define cheating? If you don't know how to use language, which is something a lot of attorneys are gifted at, that's what they're trained to do. It matters how you say something. You can't just say cheating, because cheating now gives the opposing counsel, if you were in court, to now have a lot of wiggle room to define cheating in any way. Is it you talking to somebody for too long? Did you meet with that person for maybe a business meeting? Now they can try to term that as maybe a date because you guys were laughing and not just talking about business. How much of that was business conversation versus personal conversation? Or maybe you slid into someone's DMs and responded back to a photo and answered a general question, but you're really polite. And now that's flirting and you're cheating emotionally. And so what is cheating usually has to be defined very meticulously. And in conclusion, the main message that I got is that it just causes more problems than it actually solves. And so what happens if you don't have a cheating clause? Well, if you don't have a cheating clause, then you just respect the prenuptial agreement. They don't care. The courtroom doesn't ask most people, unless if they have a cheating clause. They don't ask them who cheated, who did this. No. If you have a prenuptial agreement, no cheating clause, they respect the prenuptial agreement in most cases, regardless of who cheated and did what, especially when it's drafted correctly by an experienced attorney and you did it right.
Marriage rates are going to go down and men are not going to want to marry their women because in 2026, it's going to be illegal to cheat on the person you are married to. And I already made a video about this, but I just want to say I'm not talking about just men. I'm talking about females too. Anyone who cheats on their partner, if they are married, they can go to jail or you can sue them and then they can go to jail if there's enough proof. So a lot of guys and girls are going to be in jail, but I also think marriage rate is going to be significantly low and there will be a lot more divorces. Like a lot. And then there's going to be people that are just not married, but they've been together for 10 years. So, because they don't want to get caught. So, but you know what that means. The men and the women are just going to get sneakier with it. So, I know, yes, I know women cheat too. I know this. I'm not stupid.
I'm glad you do know. As always, guys, I'm curious to know, what do you think? Top comment here says, be a good person. This won't be a problem. Somebody else here added, this makes me want to marry more. You see the guys here saying, this makes me want to marry more. I don't think women realize how much men are aware that they aren't these Bible-believing, innocent women, because they don't come that way. Always curious to know your thoughts. Comment down below. To my currently engaged and to be married men, head over to fathershaverights.com. Access the #1 guide to drafting a solid and legally binding prenuptial agreement. If you don't know where to start, how to get your prenup, that's why I created fathershaverights.com. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.